Jackson Cole, welcome back to the Steep Stuff podcast. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me
Oh,
back on, James. It's good to chat with you. Sort of a yearly
it's true.
catch
It's
up.
true, man. I always have this like penciled in for around this time of year to do kind of check in and kind of recap the season, talk about plans for the next year, and it was kind of fun this season though. I got to see you a bunch, so it was more fun to kind of do these incremental catch ups, and now we get to do one on the pod. So welcome back, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it was good to see you at a few of the
Yeah.
Cirque races. Just catch up in person. It's always a little bit nicer to just chat while you're drinking a beer or
Yes,
something. So
yes, yeah. Good times in Killington and good times in Targhee. It was a fun
yeah,
summer nonetheless. Dude, I don't want to hide or bury the lead. How are you doing, man? I know you just got back from a huge trip to New Zealand. You did this really fun bike packing tour that was really fun to follow. Maybe jump into that. Talk about your experience, why you went to New Zealand, some of the races that you did, and talk about this tour that you did.
yeah. Just before Christmas, I went back to New Zealand. Obviously where I grew up, and I was telling you offline. It had been quite a long time since I'd been back home, and even longer since I'd spent Christmas there. So it was really nice to get back and hang out with family, have a Kiwi Christmas, which is, it's summertime there, so you're kind of having barbecues and laying low, hanging out. So that was really fun. Um, and then after Christmas, I'd bought a bike down there and decided to do a big 2 week bikepacking trip down the South Island of New Zealand, which is not where I grew up. I grew up in the North Island, but the South Island is notorious for having the epic mountain range. The Southern Alps runs through the South Island of New Zealand, and I guess I just wanted to I don't know, reconnect with New Zealand in a way that felt more like in tune with who I am now. I'd been back to New Zealand a few times in the last 10 years, but never as a mountain runner. Never got to really experience the mountains in New Zealand in that way. So it was special to go back there, do this 2 week bike trip where I feel like I fully immersed myself in the mountains, all the weather, all the rain, all the wind. Totally get my shit rocked some days. It was a huge learning curve. I'd never done a bike packing or really a backpacking trip before, so I did sort of throw myself into the deep end there. Yeah, it ended up being the experience I wanted it to be. It was challenging, super challenging at times, but really rewarding to sort of, yeah, get up and down this mountain range under my own power, visiting these national parks and places that I'd always wanted to see. Yeah, doing it by bike's really special and extremely rewarding. At the end of the day, you get to your campsite, and you're just totally knackered from biking for 10 or 12 hours. And yeah, I had plenty of mechanical issues and everything else, but it all ended up working out in the end. And yeah, it was a pretty special time for me, just personally, getting to be back in my home country and getting to see the mountains in that way. So
What are
it
those
was great.
bikes like? Talk about. I mean, is there anything maybe in the Alps or North America that you might be able to compare them to, like altitude wise and just ruggedness wise?
I would say um, the Southern Alps is a more or less a coastal range, so it sort of runs along the west coast of New Zealand. And so I compare them most the like Aspiring National Park was sort of where all the bigger glaciated peaks are, Aspiring, and then Mount Cook National Park. Um, they reminded me a lot of the Cascades. So these really steep approaches, super bushy and rooty trails to get up into the alpine, and then it's this epic glaciers, jagged peaks, really challenging terrain. New Zealand, like anywhere else, is experiencing the effects of climate change, and so the glaciers are receding in a big way, making the terrain a little trickier to navigate. So actually in New Zealand, it's far more common to take a helicopter into the alpine than to do it under your own power from the valley floor. So anyway, it was fully immersive, and the further north you get, so closer to like a town like Nelson, there's Nelson Lakes National Park and Mount Aspiring, and the Arthur's Pass National Park. And that area reminded me more of Montana, Colorado, sort of the classic US lower 48 Rocky Mountains. You got these like big ridge lines. There's still some presence of glaciers there, but it's not as abundant. And yeah, just really fun trail running, ridgeline connections. Totally awesome. It was
What is
great.
the altitude like? Is it? I think the high point's somewhere like 3 to 6,000 feet, something like that.
Yeah, it's so again, it sort of depends. The high point, so in Mount Cook National Park and in Mount Aspiring, you've got some 3,000 meter peaks, so just sort of a touch above 10,000 feet, with the high point being Aoraki, which is Mount Cook, which is at like 12,000 ish
Oh
feet.
wow.
And so that's the high point of New Zealand. But for the most part, you're sort of climbing peaks between seven, like alpine is around 5 or 6,000 feet. So you're sort of in that range. Once you get above 6,000 feet, you're in the alpine, and the peaks in most of New Zealand are like between 8 and 9,000 feet.
So interesting. The reason I
So
ask is it
yeah.
really intrigues me. Like learning more about this is like I've been doing a deep dive. I always found it interesting. Like you could take a zone like I guess Wyoming's like pretty interesting zone, right? The winds, and then you get into the Tetons, and you realize their tree line is so much lower than like ours in Colorado because we're so much further south. I didn't realize that and started doing more research. And then the further north you go, the tree lines get lower based off the altitudes, which I find to be like it's it's very odd. It's
Mm.
very interesting. So I don't know. That's kind of one of the reasons why I asked.
It's yeah, it's funky too because obviously I have lived here a long time in Alamosa in the San Luis Valley, which is at 7,500 feet. And so, yeah, in New Zealand, I'd be climbing some peak, and you feel like you're in, this big alpine terrain at 7,000 feet, and then thinking about, oh man, I used to live at 7,500 feet. That was just my day to day. So it's kind of a weird contrast, but that's one of the more unique things about
Yeah.
the US.
Yeah, that's interesting. So your Strava, the official stat you put up was something like 585 miles or somewhere along the range of that. Was it about that? Was that pretty spot on for the distance? Like it's pretty solid, dude. It's a
For one way, so it ended up being 1,100 miles
wow.
out and back. Um, so yeah, in basically 2 weeks, I cycled down. It was like 500 and I don't remember the exact stats, but 500 and change getting down, and then on the way back, I had some detours to get to a few different national parks. And then in the end, it was just shy of 1,100 miles, or like just shy of 2,000 kilometers. So yeah, and like going into it, I'd never biked more than I think 40 miles was the longest bike ride I'd ever done. And like day one, I think it was like 120 or 130 miles on the bike, and my butt was really sore, my legs were really sore, my knees was all. It was so tough. I ended up eating so many sweets and chocolate bars and everything else to survive. It was great.
That's the best. That's the best.
Yeah.
So long term though, because I know we'll talk about the race you ran after, but I mean, because it's a different type of like training stimulus being on the bike like that. Do you think it was like a great aerobic stimulus for you to just for an off season kind of thing to just do this giant like aspect of the build, especially for like climbing legs? I feel like lots of cycling can help with the climbing legs a ton. What's your thoughts on this?
Big time. I totally agree with that. I thought it was great because I was looking for something to do. In the winter, I just like to do as much skiing as possible. And so going to New Zealand, and obviously there's no skiing to do at this time of year, but I was thinking that it would be awesome to do something that wasn't just running. So adding the bike to it was great, and a great training stimulus, sort of in that same low zone for a long time, and it's easy-ish. It's not easy, but it's more manageable to do 10 hours on the bike every day, or maybe I probably wasn't doing 10 hours a day, but between 6 and 8 hours a day on the bike, as opposed to just doing a couple hours of running every day. So no, I think it was great boost for my fitness. I feel really fit at the moment, and have I did like a local schema race last week, and had like the best result I've ever had in one of those schema races. So it's promising. You never know how it'll translate to race performance, but yeah, I think it was a good stimulus at the end of the day, and I think something I'm going to implement a bit more in my training, doing more cycling now that I've got a
Dude,
nice bike.
the bike is
So
dope, man. I got into it last year when I was injured, and yeah, I fell in love with it. It's
yeah.
you can just do. I don't know. I feel like Colorado, Montana, great places with big open spaces, so you can get just tons of hours and plenty of mileage in. It's going to be conducive for lots of hours of training. What talk about this race that you did, the goat that you did in New Zealand. This like epically technical sky race, or something along the lines of a sky race.
Oh yeah, yeah. It definitely had all the requirements to be a sky race. It was awesome. It's this race I'd heard a lot about through some of my Kiwi teammates who had run it before, and my aunt and uncle had also run it a few times, and I'd only heard good things about it. Everyone knows that I love technical trails, and so they were saying that if you're in New Zealand in January, you've got to do the goat. So it was a tight turnaround from the bike trip, being that I got back on the 15th and then raced on the 17th. So definitely, I think energy wise, kind of felt that turnaround. It was tough, but luckily the course is so technical, you didn't have to have good running legs. You just had to have a bit more grit and determination on that course. So yeah, it was super fun and cool that was the first trail race I'd ever done in New Zealand. And it was fun to not only line up with some of my teammates from Spain, Ryan Carr and Maya Flint. So it was fun to line up and race those people again, and then just hang out with them. So yeah, it was a really cool experience. So anyone that goes to New Zealand in January, I'd highly recommend doing that race because it's also in a really cool area of the North Island. The like Mount Ruapehu is a really amazing mountain in New Zealand, and there's a classic alpine crossing called the Tongariro crossing, just outside of that area. So definitely worth the trip if you're going over for a visit to New Zealand in January. You should do that race.
Dude, sounds
Highly recommend
epic.
it.
Is there any plans to start going back like more often? Because I feel like the mountain running there just sounds absolutely epic.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I think at least once a year I'm going to try and make it back. Seems like all of the mountain races happen in February and March. That's sort of the true summer in New Zealand. January is kind of like equivalent of maybe May or June in the States. So it's kind of on the cusp of summer. Whereas February, March, April, that'd be like July, August, September equivalent. So yeah, I'd like to go back, do some more races over there. There's a full race series there now called the Kia Series, which is kind of mimicking off of things like the Cirque Series and Skyrunner World Series. So, yeah, I would love to go back and do a full circuit in New Zealand. There is some freaking talented athletes in New Zealand that don't really get showcased internationally, but absolutely crush in the local scene. So it would be fun to go back and race those people. And then also just be more immersed in that trail running scene. The New Zealand trail running and ultra scene is really strong, so it was like fun to be a part of that for a short period of time, and I'd like to be part of it a little bit more if I could. So
Well, it's interesting too, especially being a well-known athlete like yourself in the space, who's had so much success in the skyrunning realm of the sport. Like, hopefully, I mean, others like you and yourself like could be a champion to maybe bring a skyrunning race, like a true like stop on the Skyrunner World Series to something like New Zealand, because that would be really cool for international athletes to get to come down and experience not just the culture, but just the area, everything that that there is there.
Yeah, big time. I think it'd be a great opportunity for skyrunners who maybe don't participate in skimo to race in that like February March range. I know Skyrunner, this year have a few races in
They did.
South America and Spain that are really early season. So it makes sense to add New Zealand to that list. The process is difficult, obviously, but I'm sure there's a race director in New Zealand that's stoked on it for
Yeah.
sure. So I think it would be really awesome because there are a few actually pretty young New Zealand mountain runners at the moment that could make waves on the Skyrunning World Series or any World Series that they chose. So it's sort of a matter of giving them the opportunity to, without traveling to Europe, show that they can race fast on these technical courses, and then the Skyrunner, will give them support to go overseas eventually. But it just takes, I got my chance at Minota was basically how that all happened for me. So giving a New Zealander the chance to race a sky race would be awesome. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully
it
it'll
makes
happen.
logical sense. I mean, especially I think the first stop on the series is like like last week in February or second to last week in February. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like coming up.
it's
It's about
not
to
not
start.
too far off. So it makes logical sense. I mean, if they
Yeah,
wanted to do something, they could definitely yeah, we gotta lobby for that. It'd be dope. Um,
yeah,
Speaking of
big
New
time.
Zealand and speaking of teammates, I want to talk to you about Worlds, man. We hung out, I think, just before you were in the rut, and then you went off the Worlds like a few weeks after. Obviously, had a great showcase there. I think what 25, 26 in the world in the short trail, which is an incredible result. Talk about your experience there. Talk about what it was like to represent New Zealand on the world stage like that, especially now that Worlds has gotten so much more legit and all like really all eyes on the sport have really come down on and watching Worlds.
Yeah, that was awesome because Worlds, I think, more than any other year, showcased the best athletes in the sport showed up for that race or those races. Um, so it was interesting. Just to talk about Worlds for a sec outside of like my own competition, it was cool to see some of the athletes that had competed on the Skyrunner World Series who are much lesser known in the US. Going basically, it was like 1 through 10 Skyrunner athletes at least on the short course, and I have to give shit to some of the American
That's right. That's right.
teammates because they had no idea who Frederick was. Had no idea who Manuel was. It's like these heavy hitters on the international scene who crushed it at Worlds, and yeah, I think kind of took the Americans by surprise a little bit. Um, and the course too was pretty technical and pretty steep, so it was probably favored them a little bit more than someone like Eli Hemming, who's obviously like one of the fastest 50K runners in the world, but maybe not as good on the technical terrain. So yeah, it was fun just for me personally, being someone who's really into skyrunning, to go to that race and see everyone get kind of shocked by the course and the competition. So yeah, that was really fun. And then for me personally, it was a exciting time to be representing my country for the first time at that level. So it was special to be around a bunch of different Kiwi teammates, see them compete and have success. And I think at the end of the day, New Zealand I think, ended up placing 15th overall, sort of men and women combined. Um, so I felt like that was a great
It's
performance
legit.
for us, considering the amount of support the New Zealand team gets is basically nothing. We get a kit that we have to pay for. We have to pay for all our travel.
Oh my god.
There's some help from the like Athletics New Zealand to get some. Like we had a coach or a couple of people out there like helping us, which was awesome. But at the end of the day, the amount of support that we get's nothing compared to even what the US athletes were provided, and absolutely nothing compared to what like the Spanish, French, and Italian teams are given. So that was cool to see. And New Zealand is obviously a punches above their weight in a lot of ways, and I think trail running was no exception. We showed up and raced hard, and we also partied really hard at the end. So it was a good time. Yeah, we had a rowdy night waiting. We had, I think, the very last finisher of the long course was this Kiwi, and she finished, well into the night, but we were all there waiting for her, and we got a few drinks from the local supermarket or whatever, and just had a good time out there. So yeah, it was so fun. I had a great time with everyone and getting to know all the Kiwi trail runners, and yeah, and also it was fun to hang out with like Noah and Adam and Jen were all out at Worlds too. So I also got to hang out with some of my close friends from the States there. So it was a great experience.
Did you
Yeah.
ever think? I mean, how do you feel about the result, dude? Did you ever think in a million years, like this guy who goes to Adams State and then kind of quits the team to go pursue mountain running? Your story has come such a long way, and now you're top 25 in the world at this discipline. It's been really cool, both as a fan and a friend of yours, to see you kind of just grow in the last, since we started the podcast, even to have these conversations with you and watch you develop and grow as this athlete. To have the season that you had and then go finish, top 25 in the world. How do you feel about that? Is that a little weird? Like,
Yeah, it was always the dream, right? You wanted to work towards something like that. Representing your country is something so special, and I feel like when I look back on my trail running, mountain running career in like 50 years, I'll look back on that moment quite fondly. And it's special too. Like, I think my parents were pretty psyched that I had a New Zealand uniform and just all those things. It's all really special. I think the race itself was maybe like not exactly what I had envisioned. I was hoping for a little bit more out of it, but yeah, at the end of the day, I can't be upset with that placement considering who lined up that day. Most races you wouldn't be too psyched with 26th place, but at the World Champs that year, it was definitely a performance I was proud of. So yeah, it was a great chance to like race on that stage, and I'm super fortunate that I had the opportunity to do so. Especially on a course like that. I think Worlds can kind of go either way. The course doesn't always maybe play into the strengths of a mountain, like a true mountain runner, but this one definitely did. So it was even bonus for me to get to race that course as well at Worlds.
2027 crossed your mind at all with South Africa? Because I feel like that should be a pretty technical course, I would assume. I mean, I would hope.
I think so. Yeah. Honestly, I would hope that Athletics New Zealand provided a little bit more support if I were to go back to the World Champs. Because as it stands right now, it's a really expensive trip. And the way they do it is Athletics New Zealand kind of sorts all the accommodation out for you and then invoices you for that amount. So, it would be cheaper if I just stayed at an Airbnb or got my own hotel room. But instead, you're kind of like, you're not forced to do it, but it makes the most sense to do what Athletics New Zealand kind of tells you to do. But it's not cheap, and South Africa could be no exception. So I would consider doing it again. I would love to race in South Africa. I think Cape Town was a perfect place for the World Champs. But yeah, I'll see. I know Athletics New Zealand is starting to put a lot more emphasis on trail running. I think they see the value in it. And so I'd hope that the level of support grows a little bit more, or else I don't know that I would do it again. If I had to purchase my own uniform and everything else again, it's kind of like a slap in the face. You're competing for your country, but you're not really being appreciated. So yeah.
Do you? Well,
Yeah.
I know there's athletes like yourself. Caitlin Felder's a Kiwi too, right? Caitlin
What was
Felder's a
that?
Kiwi too, right? She's from New Zealand, I believe.
Caitlin Felder. Oh, yeah. She was
Okay,
on
that's what
the
I
Kiwi
thought. Well,
team.
what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get at is like, is there more athletes that maybe could speak up and maybe get a direct line to, to Athletics New Zealand to maybe have that dialogue to see if, for 2027 they can increase their, increase their ask.
Yeah. I know it's been an issue because like Ruth Croft was a silver medalist at I think the short course at World Champs years ago, and she had a similar issue with Athletics New Zealand being not being very supportive of their athletes. And I think Caitlin ended up going to Worlds because she lives in Andorra, so it was really close for her. Um, she was a last minute addition to that team um, because I think she just didn't have anything else going on and she thought she could just drive over. And that's what she did. She just drove from her home to Spain to Canfranc and raced. So, yeah, I think once you've kind of gotten a taste of what athlete support should look like, paying your own way to a world championships feels
Slap in the
kind of
face.
like
Yeah, it's super
ridiculous.
frustrating.
So, and of course, your sponsors don't really care about the world champs. It is just you're doing it like for your country is the reason to do it. So, yeah, it wouldn't take much support. It would just mean Athletics New Zealand gives a little bit more, like just knowing that they cared a little bit to provide you a uniform. Even this would make a huge
Yeah,
difference. So,
I couldn't
yeah,
agree more. Hey, well, 2027, while it is not that far away, hopefully that something can be done and there can be more. Just we have a long ways to go over the next few years too. I mean, just what you said too, in the sense where a lot of contracts now, there's very few, if not any, sponsor bonuses built in for world champs. It's never a conversation because what you're wearing a pair of Sportiva shoes, but it's not like we can wear that on our shirt. So yeah, it gets kind of weird. It's hopefully more can be done in the long term to legitimize that and have more conversations. So yeah.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right, let's shift gears at a Worlds. I want to talk to you about your season, dude. Outside of that, you had 3 Cirque Series podiums. You won Alyeska. I got to hang out with you at Targhee, which was great. I want to talk to you about Targhee because there was a particular, not that race result, but you set the FKT on T Winot, which I thought was super legit and super overlooked for the year. And I feel like not enough people had a conversation around that. For the listeners that might not know what T Winot is as far as the peak, maybe talk about its distance, talk about the peak, its prominence, and what it is, and why you chose specifically that peak to go absolutely hammer down at just a all-star time on it, dude.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I will say with T Winot, I'm not sure that I have the fastest time. There are rumors circulating that someone from uh, actually I don't know if they're Salt Lake based, but I heard it from someone from Salt Lake that it had gone under 2 hours trailhead, and I was like, oh, what did I do it in? It was
Yeah,
like
I think
2:0 2:0
203. Yep,
something
yep, yep.
2:03. So I won't claim the speed record for that one because I don't know 100% that it was the fastest time, but it's at least the fastest recorded time or whatever. So, but that was doing T Winot was sort of like both a uh, like personal challenge. I wanted to go really hard on that mountain because it's so aesthetic. It's just straight from the valley floor, rises almost 7,000 feet. It's such a steep, iconic mountain. Um, and at the time, I was sort of training for and wanting to go for the Grand Teton FKT, but it wasn't in the cards with the weather and racing schedule. And I honestly don't know that I was fit enough to break Michelino's time. So, um, yeah, it was cool to be out there and give T Winot a rip. And it was also like a bit of a, I don't know, this maybe I'll regret saying this, but like an FU
I was
to
getting to
everyone that
this.
was
Yeah,
so like anti Michelino cutting the switchback because I cut every single switchback I possibly could have on T Winot, and that was received with mixed reviews. But um, T Winot isn't like a recognized trail, so it was all fair game. But yeah, people probably would take issue with that. But yeah, I just cut every trail on T Winot, and that's what made it so fast. So
you one of the things I found really interesting and compelling in your Strava post is you said something very compelling, and it just mountain running is alive and well. And I felt like that was a very, I don't know, different athletes have different forms of expression, and I thought that was a very valid expression of what mountain runners in the United States, particularly Michelino, had been going through, and what a lot of athletes go through, especially for someone like you that has all the ability in the world to go for that record. And now there's all this political bullshit around it and all this stuff that's like very frustrating. But the fact that you went for T Winot, I found it to be very interesting, and I thought that peak was very neat. I've never been on that one particularly. I plan on going on it this summer. T Winot. Is it a lot of like fifth class climbing and scrambling? What, because it's hard to tell based off of like looking at the maps and watching YouTube videos on it.
Yeah, it definitely it's a scramble. It's a technical mountain. If you climb it via the east face, you end up doing a lot of fourth class scrambling. And I'd say the challenge with that route is the route finding can be a little tedious and challenging. But if you go sort of the way of least resistance, it never exceeds fourth class. Um, but that being said, it's really, really easy to all of a sudden find yourself on some sort of fifth tricky, weird move, fifth class move. So yeah, if you're out there and I'm out there,
Dude,
I'd
let's
take
do it.
we could
Yeah.
go up it together.
If
or
you go
either
back
out.
to if you go back to Targhee
Yeah,
this year, I'm gonna go out probably a few days before the race and then hang out for like a week after. Just because like every time I go out for the race, like I never really get to explore much of that zone, and there's so many things I want to do. So yeah, 100%. I'll be out there for at least a week afterwards to go play in the mountains and see what's up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. I mean, I don't know for sure if I'll be out for Targhee, but regardless, getting out to the Tetons at some point in the summer is always on my to do list every summer. So yeah, there's so many cool things to do. The rock is generally really good out there, so the scrambling is
Yeah,
super
yeah,
super
the
fun.
zone's legit.
Yeah,
Do you think you'll try to go back one of these days and try to go for the Grand, or you think that's like because I feel it's the reason I bring it up is because you're one of the few people residing in the country right now with the ability to go do that and get that record. Like it's within reach for someone like you. Um, yeah, like I feel like it'd be obviously for people that don't know, the weather was abysmal last year in the time frame that you were trying to go for it. But yeah, I'd love to see you go back and give it a try, dude.
yeah, it's always in the back of my mind. Last year, I did go out there for a solid 2 weeks to eventually give it an effort. The problem I ran into was I got out there. I knew I needed 10 days to acclimatize to the altitude and get re-familiar with the route. And by the time that happened, it was storming. It snowed up there, so the mountain got shut down for like not that long. It probably was only like 3 or 4 days. Um, but at that point, I was kind of like getting ready to leave for some other races, and it didn't pan out the way I'd hoped. So it's challenging. Uh, you know, it almost takes living in. You just need to dedicate like a month to being out there, honestly, to not only scout the route because there are so many options and nuances to that route. I remember being up there one day and talking to Michelino about like a certain route that I was going to take up high in the mountain. I remember he just looked at me. He's like, "Why would you take that way? That's so slow." I was like, "I didn't know there was another option." So there are a lot of things like that. You just have to be out there for a long time and figure it all out. But yeah, I think you need at least a month to be out there, and at least now, Michelino set the bar really high. Jane obviously set the bar really high for the women's FKT. So it takes a lot to break that time. It always has, but even more so now. So yeah, I would have to go out there with a real intention to break it. I don't know if that'll be this year, but man, it's
It's
always
hard to I
it's
know
always
it's
on my
hard to
mind.
say because, like I said, you're one of the few people in the country that has that rare ability to be able to go do it. The mix of skills, so it would be cool. What so on that topic then? What do you think? What do you have planned for 2026? I know we're still early out. It's like first few days in February,
Yeah.
but what are you thinking so far as like a goals?
Um, that's also sort of up in the air at the moment. I'm figuring that all out at the moment. But I think a few things are for sure. I will definitely be out for the Mount Marathon in
Okay,
Alaska in Seward. So that's like there's no way I'm going to pass up that opportunity to do that race. And then I think I'll probably go back to Minotaur. I'd really like to do the Beast of Big Creek Sky Race in Washington. Um, and because obviously that's part of the Skyrunner World Series this year. So having a quote unquote home race in the Skyrunner World Series is always something you want to
You
take
get a
advantage of.
rematch with Dan as well
That,
for
yeah, 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 and that place just looks really sweet too, running out there. And then yeah, I don't know. I am currently signed up for both Speedgoat and the Whistler 50K with the intent to make it to OCC next year. I don't know. I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards racing Whistler. Um, I think that's the sort of tail end of August. So yeah, we'll see. There's also a chance I do a full Skyrunner World Series circuit, so that would have me out in France all of May, and then back in I'd go to Spain for the tail end of the season. But yeah, it's all sort of up in the air right now. I'm waiting on the Skyrunner contracts to come through to see what they provide me with in terms of travel support. And then also just some various life things that I'm trying to suss out at the moment. So yeah, nothing's guaranteed, but nothing's guaranteed except for
okay.
Mount Marathon. There's no way
Dude,
I'll
I
miss
am
that race.
so excited to go see you do that. So it's funny. I've been talking to Nolly Strable a lot about doing like we're gonna do some preview episodes for it, and we're gonna really try to put it more on the global / like North American map, because I think for the Alaskan running scene just seems to be so special, and yeah, I want more people to learn about it. It's such an interesting race, so to have you out there, I think is going to be very cool. For as far as
Yeah,
what the field is going to look like, so that'll be super interesting.
yeah, no, I'm so psyched for that race. If it's anything like Alyeska, it's going to be awesome. And Mount Marathon just seems like it's that race. And I think I saw that video that Solomon put out years ago with Killian and Ricky Gates, and ever since I've just been really psyched on that. That style of running in Alaska is really cool. So
Somebody's got to beat
yeah,
David Norris
do you
one of these
think?
days, so there you go. You go,
Yeah,
dude.
I don't know, dude. I think my time at Alyeska was at least a minute under his, or a minute slower than his course record there. So man, he's a beast on especially on those really steep climbing grades.
Yeah,
He's so good. Um, so
yeah.
yeah, that'd be fun. Hopefully, I don't know if he's racing. I would assume he's racing Mount Marathon this year. I don't know, but
He's a quiet,
yeah,
yeah.
hopefully
He's a
it'd be
quiet
sweet.
one. I got to get him back on the show because he'll like do a bunch of stuff and then disappear and then reappear like when the season comes and become the
Yeah,
U.S. national men's. What is he? He was the mountain running champ last year. So
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, dude. All right, so that's a great calendar. What do you think about Beast of Big Creek? Are you stoked that we finally got one in the, like stateside? I mean, I was a little upset to see Minotaur fall off because I really was interested in going to do that race on I was hoping that we'd have like a global audience, um, which is still an amazing race. But what do you think about Beasts of Big Creek and kind of all the things surrounding that?
Yeah, and I'm really excited for it. I think the race director, I listened to your podcast with him, and he seems like a really stoked, excited person, and so that's sort of what it takes to be part of the series is someone with that kind of level of passion. And so I think regardless of what happens, that race is going to be exciting and fun and be a good showcase of skyrunning in the US. Um, I'm excited that it's in Washington because I think that's probably one of the few places where sort of true skyrunning can happen in the lower 48. Seems like Washington, Montana, and I guess Colorado. A few spots in Colorado where you have like some true sky races happening or like potential for that. So, um, no, the Beast of Big Creek is going to be really fun. I think I was looking on Ultra Sign Up the other day, and there's already like a slew of really fast guys and girls that have signed up for that race. And then obviously whoever signs up through Skyman will be out there as well. So it's going to be fast and competitive. I had my buddy Corey said he had run that peak before, and he said it was really fun. Sort of seems to be this gradual, easy trail that leads into some pretty steep, gnarly terrain. So I think the back half of that race will be pretty sweet. And Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I hope a lot of Europeans come out for it. It was nice to see that Skyrunner this year requires that you do a race outside of Europe to count towards your overall season points. And so I hope that a lot of the European uh, crushers decide that Beast to Big Creek is an event they want to do. I think I saw that the Peruvian runner, what's his name? Uh, is it Jose Manuel? His last name's Manuel. I can't remember his first name. But he's like one of the better skyrunners in the world and an absolute crusher. And so he's going to be out for that race. And yeah, it should be exciting. Do you think you'll be out there for it, or I know you'll be covering it,
It's
obviously,
hard to
but
say. I don't know because it's August, right? So I feel um, like that side of my schedule is completely free. Like I literally like purposely cleared the schedule from July 11th onward to like the end of August. So it's like
mm,
maybe if there's like it's very hard for me to pass up an opportunity to go like do commentary and like be there, boots on the ground, either potentially racing or at least from a coverage perspective as well. I think there is very compelling because it is the first like legit Skyrunner series race that we've had in a very long time in the United States. um I don't know, we'll see. A lot of right now I'm trying to figure like finalize stuff with sponsors as far as race coverage for Broken Arrow, the Rut will definitely be there, Speed Goat, and then the U.S. mountain running champs at Sunapee. So there's a possibility.
mm,
We'll see. So that's the best thing because it's like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to find this balance
yeah,
right now of like I want to be really selfish with my time to be able to still have time in the summer to get out in the mountains and train and do all the things I want to do at a very high level, but also be able to do the commentary stuff and do the coverage stuff and try to find this perfect balance. Which I know I'm not going to find a perfect balance, but at least try to balance it.
yeah.
So we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's tricky. You sort of wearing two hats, being such a vocal person in the sport, but then also an
Yeah.
athlete yourself. It's hard to hard to find the balance
Yeah,
there at
I
all.
created something
Yeah,
that yeah I might
created a
regret.
monster.
We'll see.
No, it's awesome.
But yeah, dude, we'll see. It's gonna be the season. I mean, so my conversation for where I wanted to take this was I'm hearing more and more chatter around like regional series for skyrunning that they're trying to put out into the world, and that I guess will soonly be announced probably by the time March rolls around. And there'll be a lot of like household named races that'll be a part of this regional series that they're trying to put together for skyrunning. But it's very interesting to me. Do you think there's enough of an audience in North America that something like that can survive? Because I really do. I think it can be a big thing in North America.
Yeah, I think well, I think skyrunning just as a sport has grown tremendously in the last few years in the US. I know when I had first signed up for Meet the Minotaur, I remember talking to a buddy of mine, and I was living in Flagstaff at the time, and he had no idea what the Skyrunner World Series was. And I feel like that narrative has shifted quite a bit to now. I think everyone more or less knows what Skyrunner World Series is, knows what it means. And so I think it's a golden opportunity in the US to really push it and showcase it. Um, so it's exciting that there's chat over a national series. I don't know anything about that, so I don't know what besides the like three or four races that have been mentioned so far. What is it like Minotaur, Broken Arrow,
Ski Tour in
the
Alaska, which they're
um,
like creating, and then yeah,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
there's one more. It's in the Northeast.
Well, there's one on the East Coast.
Whiteface, I think. Yeah, Whiteface.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there'll be
yeah.
another one on the East Coast. There'll
So
be
yeah,
a
anyway,
festival
whatever.
that I heard about. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, I think it's really exciting. I hope that with anything, at the end of the day, especially now, what it takes is like a sponsor to put up substantial prize money. Um, I feel like now we're at the point where you've got ACG and Brooks putting up these huge purses for the short course, short trail events. If Mural wants to have a big skyrunning scene, or if skyrunning wants to make it in the US, it has to match that almost, or there needs to be some sort of incentive for the athlete. So you can't just have a series now and just expect people to come. Like Cirque Series is successful because they put up a lot of prize money, and at least in terms of being still like relevant in the pro running side of things. And I think right now what skyrunning needs is probably that elite athlete presence in order to boost the popularity and eyes on those events. Because it's one of the things, like I feel like without it, skyrunning's a little too niche for the general public still. So you're not going to get the like mass sign up that you would for a Cirque Series race. And so the thing that skyrunning is so good at is being really spectator, or it's like really intriguing to watch video recaps of a sky race. And so you sort of need the elite athletes there to showcase what you can do on those courses. So yeah, hopefully there's a lot of incentive and prize money and everything else for elite athletes to show up. Because otherwise I feel like it would fizzle out pretty quickly if there wasn't any of that.
What's your
Yeah.
take on now, like ACG coming in and making massive investments in the sport, and all these brands throwing cash? Are you like, as an athlete, like, I want as many opportunities for athletes to make as much money as possible, because the athletes aren't really killing it in the sport. One, and two, it's a finite lifestyle in the sense where, it comes and goes very easily. It's not a long life as an athlete. What's your take on kind of this evolution as we've seen more and more money kind of get invested in the sport in the last really 12 months even?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really exciting. I feel like for me personally, I don't think I'm going to see any of that. At least not like personally, I don't feel excited by it because I don't think I'm going to benefit from racing the Broken Arrow 28 or 23K. That's definitely not my not my event. But I think um, for the people that like my girlfriend Maya, she signed up for the Broken Arrow 23K, and she's someone that could have a legitimate chance of being in the top three there. So I think for that sort of group of athletes that are still really fast, it's extremely exciting. I think, yeah, I wish, of course, some of that money went. It was like instead of a 30K prize purse, I maybe wish it was dispersed a little bit more evenly across events. ACG, you know, being that they're claiming to be some sort of like mountain apparel brand, could sponsor a more mountainous race. But this is, an opinion that I hold that isn't held by many others. I am totally aware of that. But yeah, I'm hope that like there seems to be this continued trend that trail races are getting shorter and more runnable. And I hope, and now that there's all this money being thrown at that style of racing, it's like a little worrisome that the trend is just going to continue to go that way. And then races like, we have races like the Telluride Mountain Run
Great race.
in the US, that legitimate mountain running that just gets kind of like sidelined by all these other events. So it would be cool if a company like Arc'teryx came to the table, and because they sponsor that race, if they came to the table and they said, "Hey, we want to throw a bunch of money at this, get a really stacked field," I think that would be awesome. Like the potential's there. It's just that Nike's not a mountain running brand. Like that's not their avenue at all. They're trying to sell, road trail shoes, and they're doing that like really well right now. So yeah, I don't know. I hope
I don't think it's sustainable though.
that like
That's like my thought on it. Is like, I think that amount of money for this year will happen, but I'm very curious to see if that happens 3 years from now. Just because you can't track an ROI on that. How am I supposed to sell $130,000 worth of shoes and be able to track that from like mathematically? To me, at least, that I don't think that makes sense. But what do I know? I hope
yeah.
everybody makes money, whatever. But like at the same time, I wonder if it's more so just a flashy thing in the short term.
It could be. I all of a sudden, I mean, I think there was always the sentiment that if Nike wanted to be the biggest company in trail running, they had the finances to do it
Yeah.
whenever they wanted to. And I think right now this is the time. I think they saw the value in trail running. They obviously, they picked up someone like Jen Lichter, who's the
Dominator.
best, short
Yeah.
trail runner in the world. They're throwing a lot of money at the sport clearly right now, and whether or not it's a flash in the pan, I think that's to be determined. But um, yeah, throwing $30,000 all of a sudden at one race seems pretty bold, and clearly, I mean, the marketing they're doing, everything else, it's like pretty clear that they're trying to make a big name for themselves in the trail running world. So yeah, we'll see how it pans out, but yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty removed from all that stuff. I don't know what their return on investment would look like, but I'm sure there'll be more people probably wanting to buy Nike trail running shoes, but at the same time, I feel like people in trail running are pretty adamant on the tried and true. Like everyone's
Yeah.
got their brand. Not many people venture outside of it. And like, yeah, I don't know. I'd never wear a Nike trail shoe. I'd never wear an Adidas trail shoe. Like that's not for me. But for a lot of people, it's probably exactly what they're
Yeah.
looking
Well, I mean,
for.
think
So
styles. I mean,
yeah,
in the sense where style for what particular type of uh, discipline that you run in. Like for you, you are the closest thing
yeah,
to a
yeah,
full-on mountain runner that you're gonna find. And running in what is the aggrevic speed, whatever, like down a mountain or up a mountain, like it's not gonna work for you. Uh,
yeah. Big
yeah,
time,
that's
totally.
interesting. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
grapple?
So no,
Sorry.
but I mean, at the end of the day, it's exciting to see the sport growing so rapidly. It's cool to be a part of it.
It's
Yeah,
interesting too, because like now
yeah,
I feel like we've just like jettisoned now, especially with Cam and Anna going to the Olympics in a few weeks, and that puts a lot of eyes as well in the trail running space, and at least get some conversation around that. And I'm starting to see more and more articles around trail running in the Olympics and this, that, and the other. I worry personally that like we're just gonna get jettisoned on this rocket ship to the moon, and there's still a lot of really soul level aspects to our sport. It's a soul sport more above anything. At least I think so. So I wonder how we'll be able to grapple with multiple like factions of the sport and multiple parties wanting to do different things with it as we continue to professionalize and as it changes.
yeah, yeah. I think at some point there's got to be some sort of real, well, I don't know. I was going to say governing body in mountain trail running, just to because sponsors right now are really they sort of have all the control. I think in a lot of other sports there is some sort of like governing body that makes sure that there are certain rules and requirements to what a course looks like and whatever else. But in trail running right now, it is kind of the Wild West in the sense that if you have enough money, you can kind of claim the narrative. And I think Nike's doing that right now. And yeah, obviously Hoka has done that big
Yeah.
time with all their U team businesses and everything else. So it's kind of like it's tricky to navigate because yeah, um, if you're not like a Hoka athlete, it's tough. If you're not a Solomon athlete, it's tough in the Golden Trail Series. Like it's annoying that if you're aligned with a sponsor that's sponsoring certain events, you get like this upper hand almost. Like for me, if I wanted to run the Leadville 100, it's just like a
Yeah.
click of a button away. I could just
Yeah.
do it if I wanted to, which is unfair. It like shouldn't be the case. Um, but I wish there was more just like a general. If you're good at running, it's an open door. Like come race this race because you're good. But instead, it's kind of like this. If you're associated with a certain company, you get like this upper hand to go to a race or something, or you get more support. So yeah, if there was more of a governing body that was unbiased and not sponsored by Nike or T-Rex or La Sportiva or whatever company, it might be a little better for everyone as a whole. But right now, that's certainly not the
Well, you hit
case.
on something really important here,
Yeah.
and and this is something actually I meant to bring up to you before is the ISF, which is the governing body more or less for skyrunning. They designate courses, they have course certifications, and all these different things. And whether people agree with them or not, it's still a governing body, governing aspect of a sport. Um, that has like its own thing. So I don't know. Like I think we definitely need some things, and especially with the anti-doping as well, we need a governing body and some sort of framework.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's such a problem in the sport as well. I know that's one of the biggest critiques with sky running is that there's no doping control. They leave it up to the race directors, and 9 times out of the 10, the race directors don't have the finances to implement a doping control protocol at their races. And ultimately, like that doesn't really work. You need out of competition testing and everything else. Which I think would be kind of funny for trail runners because there are so many nomadic trail runners that would constantly have whereabouts issues. But yeah, I think yeah, that's another huge problem. I think now if people are making $30,000 off of a race, or 50K bonus for winning Western States or UTMB, whatever else, it's kind of at the point where it seems insane that there isn't more doping control, because now there's a legitimate reason to dope in trail running. If you are someone who's like living in poverty or just, trying to make ends meet, doping seems like a pretty reasonable thing to want to do, if you feel like you're never going to get caught. So it's kind of a scary time to be in trail running. Luckily, like there are some doping control. There's some testing being done, like at UTMB races, and like Southern Alps probably like the best race for doping control. And I did see it happening at Worlds, but they're only testing the top 5 athletes most of the time, and it's right after competition, which is like the worst time to test for athletes doping. So yeah, there's a lot that can be done. And with the amount of money being put into the sport now, it seems like it's the right time to do that. But yeah, who knows? Again, it's a problem because like I'm sure Nike and Solomon don't want more doping control in the sport. Solomon clearly doesn't. Like that's hurt them in the past big time. So yeah, I'm sure those companies aren't like advocating for it. But if they're the ones who are the biggest investors in the sport, then they're going to have all the say power. So that's where some sort of governing body would be helpful to say, okay, XYZ race has to have, or if you're signed up for the Golden Trail World Series, you get put into the pool of athletes getting tested. So yeah, it seems like a no-brainer, but obviously there's a lot of money that has to go into that as well. But if track and field can make it work, trail running can as well.
I think. We just need like a billionaire, someone to just give us tons of money.
Yeah,
just a nice billionaire that feels compelled to just pass it down and hook us up.
A nice,
give us a framework.
Yeah, a nice billionaire seems like an oxymoron. Though I don't think we'll get a nice billionaire to do that.
Definitely not. Well, if the podcast ever just takes over, dominates, we'll you'll
be the first to invest. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Jackson, read about an hour, dude. I don't want to take up too much of your afternoon. I want to say thank you again so much. Looking forward to seeing you again this summer and hanging out, sharing a beer.